on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, FACCI'S Cinema. How's everybody doing tonight? Tonight is going to be another episode of my content creator YouTube, interview series I've been doing. This is actually going to be episode number 12, so definitely way more episodes than I ever thought this would be. Had some amazing creators on so far, but tonight's creator is definitely the biggest of the big that I've had on so far, and I am just amazed that he even agreed to come on here because I am a rinky-dink channel that's not very good, but I try my best. But he is amazing. He pumps out content so much. It's unbelievable, and I'm so glad that he is here, and I'm going to bring him up. You know him as Sean Chandler from the YouTube channel Sean Chandler Talks About. Welcome to this channel, my friend. How are you this evening?
I am doing good. Nice and busy. I took most of last week off because it was my kids went back to school. So the first half of the week I was just spending time with them and went to the water park, went bowling, and then there was a little bit of just adjusting. My son's in middle school now, so having to take the kids to two different schools. Actually, this Thursday it'll be three different schools. One's at preschool, one's at elementary school. The oldest is at middle school. And so just getting used to all of that stuff, working on some stuff behind the scenes. So I actually took a little bit of time off kind of last week, but wasn't exactly restful time off. So today back trying to crank out content again.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, my kids go back to school next week, so same as you. All my kids go to the same school except for the littlest one. He goes to preschool, so two different schools. But next year, different story. That's when we got three different schools because my oldest goes to high school, which seems like they were just little yesterday, and now they're freaking growing up so fast. It's crazy.
The way life works, where it both flies by and at the same time it goes so slow in other ways. You can't. It's like, wow, I can't believe my kids were just like they're just right there in my hand. How is they already in middle school? And at the same time, it's like you can't remember a time before they were born. Like, what was life when I didn't have kids? Like, where did my time go? I thought I was busy when I didn't have kids. That was nothing.
Exactly. Between practices and everything else, it gets a little hectic, but you wouldn't trade it for the world. So, we do the best we can, and hopefully they turn out to be better than we did. So that's all we can do. Let's say hello to the chat real quick. Boogman Lamontra, welcome. Antonis, what's up, buddy? Anybody have any questions? Like I said, drop them in the chat, and I will be sure to pass those along to Sean to get his response. Jason, what's up? Little Vern Shorts, how's it going? Good Real Brett, what's up? Nicholas Ashton, how's everybody doing tonight? But I want to know, since this is the first time that we've ever spoken, ever had any contact at all, I want to know what got you started in the YouTube game in the first place. Like, what made you want to talk about movies all day, every day?
So some of it is just I've always been kind of that kind of person that went towards nerdy stuff and movie stuff. So, some of my earliest memories are seeing Star Trek V in the theater in middle of nowhere, Arizona, at a theater that had a balcony. The theater only had one screen, and it was like a ancient theater, literal balcony. And if they didn't sell 20 tickets, they wouldn't show the movie. And we were driving from Texas to California. We'd moved from California to Texas the year before. And so we were driving back to just visit, middle of nowhere city, this one theater, watching Star Trek V of all movies, just one of my earliest movie memories, but also just one of my earliest memories. So it's just, we're always kind of that kind of family. My sister and I rode our bikes to the comic book shop growing up. And, I got into high school and had our free trial discs of AOL and got our 5 free hours of internet. I put up my members.aol website way back in the day, and it was a movie website. Back in the day, it was a Jackie Chan fan webpage. So I've just always been that person. And I was on blogs. I've been in the IMDb message boards, comment section of Collider.com, pre-Collider on YouTube, Collider.com, just the website. I was in the comment section on there being the obnoxious troll person for years. And then sometime around, 2010, I started to wait. There's people like posting videos that are movie reviews. It's Jeremy Johns, Chris Stuckman, and then a couple years after that, John Campy started Movie Talk, and I was like, this is cool. They're talking about movies. I could do that too. and I had like 3 years of false starts. And then in 2016, I was unemployed and looking to kill some time. So I went back to that thing that I always did, went to
Watch
the
movies.
internet, and I was lucky enough at that. Well, wasn't the lucky window of my life, but at that moment in time, I had the free time
Mhm.
to actually put into it to get a little bit of traction. And I'd failed at enough things over the previous 20 years that the lessons start a little bit better, know what to pay attention to a little bit more right out of the gate. And I think because of that, I got lucky.
Awesome. I was gonna say I started pandemic like a lot of other, content creators recently. It was you had a lot of downtime. You had nothing else
Right.
to do. So I mean, Joe Schmo over there is talking about movies. Why can't I do it? Even if I get
Mhm.
like 6 people to watch the videos, it doesn't matter. It's it's talking about stuff you love, and for you, obviously, blew up tremendously. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes critic. I mean, what? Let's
It's
see what else.
surreal. It's wild. 'Cause I've been reading Rotten Tomatoes for over 20 years, and sometimes I'll rent a movie on Vudu, and they have the Rotten Tomatoes deals, and I'll be like, "That's me. That's me in there. I know that guy quite well."
And what else? Hollywood Critics Association, man. So you're a pretty big deal. Pretty big deal. So are you one of those Rotten Tomatoes critics that everybody hates and gives terrible takes on stuff, or are you at one of the good ones?
Hopefully, I'm one of the good ones. I try to, um, in my tastes and what I'm into, still be the same fanboy I ever was.
Hmm.
If anything, I'm probably a little bit too kind on things, some stuff. Um, but I try to, in my mind, I want to be able to put words to what other people are feeling and articulate that
Hmm.
experience that people are having. And maybe I have a slightly better knowledge of cinematic vocabulary or understanding of story structure that someone watches it, they felt something, and I can
Yeah.
articulate that. And if you look at my taste in movies, whenever I put out my 20 favorite movies of all time or whatever, people are always like, well, this is a pretty obvious list. Like, yeah, you look at my 20 favorite movies, it is the most obvious generic list that a guy like this born in 1981 would have. I'm not trying to impress you with my deep knowledge
Yeah.
of art house films, Asian cinema, Europe. No, 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 no. No, you got Rocky, you got Back to the Future, you got Terminator, Predator, The
Yep.
Matrix. It's all the stuff you'd assume that I would love because that's what
Yeah.
I would love. And so I try to just bring that kind of normal taste, and I have my more obscure things that I'm into, and then things that are just kind of they're not actually good, but they're awesome, like Jean-Claude Van Damme films. This just makes you
Hey.
like a normal person. So hope I think that, and some of it also, where you kind of get the people that are a little bit more in like the LA bubble a little bit,
Yeah.
where they actually live in the context where it just feels different. I'm in Central Texas. At all the people at the Austin press screenings, we're all introverts. We're all afraid of each other. Like so I'm just a guy that goes to the movies. I just happen to get to see him a few days early and don't have to pay for my movie tickets.
Lucky.
It's
Lucky.
nice. It's
Eh,
cool. Like, I can't complain. I watch movies for a living, and my day job is what every kid at my kids' schools, they want to do what I do for a living, except probably a gaming channel.
Yeah.
But as a second prize, watching movies for a living, they're probably not going to complain too much.
No. How could you? I mean, I'm sure being as big as you are, I'm sure you probably watch pretty much every movie that comes out. So I know it's got to be a little tough, maybe. Is it a little tough to force yourself to watch some of these movies, or do you pretty much just watch the movies that you really want to see?
Well, I'd say where that factors in for me is I'm the ranking guy. I rank franchises, and that's
Mhm.
where I kind of cut through and stood out was doing more rankings. And so because of that, and to be good at it, to get ahead of the curve on that, it means I rewatch the movies a lot. So like right
Yeah.
now, I'm prepping a Martin Scorsese ranking in October, 3 months in the future, but he's got 30 movies and they're long. So I started watching them 3 months beforehand. And I got a Conjuring ranking in a month. And so then that's 10 more movies I got to watch. But I also doing a 31 on
Yep.
31 with some of my buddies. And so there's 31 movies I have to watch by the end of October. And so there's like the
Damn.
sense to, I literally, before I came up here to log on to talk to you, I went to my wife and I went, here's the list. Which movie do you want to watch tonight? Here you go. Handed her my phone to pick from the list of movies I need to watch over the next 3 months. And she's like, I will take maybe My Big Fat Greek Wedding or Murder on the Orient Express. And so it's literally, and that's 2 more potential rankings. The Kenneth Branagh murder mystery films, and there's a third, My Greek Wedding, or whatever the Greek Wedding thing. There's a third one coming out. No one saw the second one, so I don't even know if I'll actually do this ranking, but I think I'm going to actually watch through all of them. So that's where I have times where it's like, okay, this is exhausting. This is tiring to have to, like, when you're having to watch them to prep for a video, probably more so. And there's times where I'm able to kind of take the foot off the gas. So like last week was the last voyage of the Demeter, Dracula on a boat. And I was supposed to go see it Wednesday night at the press screening, and I was planning on going to it, but I just was never feeling this movie for whatever reason. The trailers didn't do much for me. And then it was the night before my kids were starting school. It was meet the teacher night. And I was like, almost this is giving me the out. It's okay. Like, I don't need to rush to see this. It's okay to take a week off. And this movie, I don't think this is going to be the one that causes my channel to get its next spike. I don't think this is the one that's going to be the water cooler movie of August. So I skipped it.
How dare you? Ridiculous.
I've had people say that to me. It was actually it was the one was it was Marriage Story, the Scarlett Johansson Adam Driver marriage movie. That it's like I was very slow to watch it, and it's a movie about divorce, and my parents got divorced, and it's about the kids, and so I was literally like, I'll probably watch it by the end of the year. It's a movie I have to be in the right headspace to want to watch, and I literally look at my channel. I'm covering horror movies. I'm covering Marvel movies. I'm not the drama guy. No, like I'm a little kid. Like I'm not doing the serious stuff. And literally, there was a person that commented on Twitter, "How dare you? It's your job." Screaming at me, it's your job to watch every movie I want you to watch. No, man. That's the great thing about being me. I work for me. What I want to watch. But that was, it was what I was like, how dare you? This is your job. What?
Like you said, it's your job that you do. You run everything that comes out on the channel is you. So if you don't want to watch a movie, oh well.
Yep.
That's the way it got to be. Obviously, everybody has way better film taste than I do. I only watch horror movies, and that's pretty much about it. But that's okay. I mean, I like to be a little different. So based on that, I know you like horror movies as well. So I'm curious to know, which is your favorite horror franchise?
So when I think of the ones that probably have the best batting average, the one right next to your head, Scream, I think has a terrific batting average.
Yeah.
Scream, my favorite horror movie. I was in high school 96 to 2000.
Oh,
that's the Scream era. That's the Kevin Williamson era. When I'm like, actually go and see a horror movie in the theater. It's that era right there. And so that, shaped my taste in horror films a great bit. And so that Scream comes to mind. And then likewise, that same window of time, movies that I was super into, the Evil Dead franchise, I think just as those movies are all over the place.
Yes, they are.
But they're good. They're all consistent. They're good at what they're trying to be. And so I think those are the two that in my mind have the best batting average of as franchises. But I think a lot of the classic ones are just very consumable. Halloween, Friday the 13th, kind of the slashers for me are a little bit more the ones that I find the easiest to just digest. Just like, just put them on, watch them. They don't demand much of me, and what they deliver is, well, I get my kills.
Yes, exactly. But Scream is a great choice. Obviously, I'm a huge Scream fan. What did you like Scream 6? Did you like it as much as most people, or were you on the opposite side of that one?
Coming out of the theater, I did. I don't think it sat well with me. I think there was just a little bit too much stuff that I don't think.
Yeah.
As soon as you heard someone call it out, you went, "Oh, I can't unsee that." That's true. That 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 doesn't make a lot of sense. I had fun in the theater. There's a lot of things to it that I dug. Even the change of setting added
Yeah.
some nice elements to it. But I need to rewatch it with kind of some of these criticisms in mind and see how it sits with me. Both of these last two, I like a lot about them. I think there's a
Mhm.
lot that they do have to offer, and the mistakes they made, I felt were particularly avoidable.
True.
It didn't have to go down like this. The thing that I'm annoyed by, it feels like you could have fixed it.
Yeah. I agree. Mine was the opposite though. When I saw Scream 6 for the first time, I really wasn't feeling it. I mean, the first 2/3 were good, and then the killer reveal came, and I just was like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that. And then I watched it a couple weeks later, and I was like, had a better time with it now, knowing who the killers were in
Yeah.
the end. But like you said, there's some stuff in that movie that very simple to be fixed pretty easily, and they chose not to do it. And now we're getting a new director with 7, and we'll have to see how that one goes. But who
Yeah,
knows?
and they, there's certain that same character gets gutted in 2 movies and lives. You just kind of go, don't gut him if you don't want him to die, or
Stab him.
let him die. But when you literally have this guy like
Hardcore.
legitimately hardcore jacked up, and it's like he's gonna be okay. What? This guy? This is the guy that you think's interesting enough that he can't die? Okay.
It's real life. Real life. That's exactly what would happen. 100%. But I guess out of the big 3, are you a Michael guy, a Jason guy, or a Freddy guy, or you really have no preference?
Are you talking just the slasher or the franchises? Where do you want me to go,
Um,
Kaiser?
I guess we'll go with the franchises. Which one of those 3 franchises do you prefer over the others?
I think I would say that Halloween has the most movies where I go, oh, I really like that. I think all 3 of them have movies that just go off the rails. Like you can't base them off the bottom tier of the franchise because they all get weird. I think Halloween has the most ones where it's like, that's really cool. I really like that. That's interesting. Friday the 13th is the one that I really grew up on. When I think of like those introductory horror movies, it was TBS, TNT. My parents went to bed and they're playing Friday the 13th, 6, Jason Lives,
Yep.
or the 7 with the superpowers, fake Carrie doing her deal. Like I just have these memories of just like scenes from those out of order in my childhood. I didn't see the whole movie. I just saw these random kills and Jason doing the buzzsaw on the jerk therapist guy from 7 and things like that. So that was my starting point for the slasher genre, was Friday the 13th. So I probably have the least passion for Nightmare on Elm Street. Like I love the original one, but as a franchise, it's not one that I'm as connected to. But then at the same time, even kind of tying to what I just said, you get to when I start being able to go to movies on my own. I have such fond memories of watching Jason X at a dollar theater. Rowdy, obnoxious audience. All of us knew what movie we were watching. That was so fun. And then a year or 2 later, went opening night to go see Freddy vs. Jason. So fun. Once again, everybody knew the movie that we were watching. So just an absolute blast.
That Jason X was my first Friday the 13th theater experience. And of course, walking out of there, that came out in what, 2000, 2001?
2001, I think, somewhere there.
I was 13, so I freaking dug the hell out of it. I had a really good time. Now, that's probably one of the ones I hate the most, if I'm going to be honest. Yeah. Everyone has a good time with it. I'm just like, I can't sit here and watch this. I don't want to. It's not enjoyable to me.
So it helps if you went to go see it. Your first experience is, I'm watching this with a bunch of people that we know we're watching a terrible film. but it's a terrible film that seems to know it's a terrible
Yeah.
film. And so like just always it was just in that category for me.
Mhm.
We're all enjoying. They went, we're gonna do Jason in space and make it just as stupid as it should be.
It was. They nailed it.
Puts the girls in repeating one of the favorite kills. He's just putting a sleeping bag, smashing them together.
Stupid. It's rough. And then Freddy vs. Jason came out. I was a little bit older. I went to the theater to see that, I think, like 3 times. I freaking had a blast. And now that's another movie for me. I don't go back and rewatch it. I just have no interest in watching it at all. But back then it was cool. It was cool to see them go head to head. Now it's not for me, unfortunately. I don't have a good time with it. And like you said, Nightmare's my least favorite of the big 3. Just like you said, also, I never had a connection with Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah. My brothers always watched Friday the 13th, so I watched those ones first. And then, Halloween H2O came out when I was 10 years old. So I saw that and immediately fell in love with that. And it was always on AMC Fear Fest. So a lot of exposure to Halloween compared to A Nightmare on Elm Street for me.
I think part of that, some of what's interesting to me is like, so I have such deep connections to Friday the 13th. I don't think any of those are classic movies. Like, whereas like the original Halloween, that's obviously a classic. The original Nightmare on Elm Street, that's a classic. These are just fantastic horror films. The first Friday the 13th, overtly, they were told to make a knockoff of Halloween. and like, somehow it morphed into this like legacy incredible thing in its own way. But it's not like there's the movie in there that's like, that's it. That's a
good point.
It's fascinating. Certain I think in particular with horror franchises, I feel like there's several of these that the franchise is much better than any one film.
I agree. That makes a lot of sense. Like you said, Friday the 13th, the franchise overall is a blast, but there's not. I mean, a lot of people go to the final chapter and they'll go to Jason Lives and be like, "Those are they're the best ones." Yeah, but is it iconic enough? Like Halloween,
even in a certain sense, like maybe they're the best ones, but there's a way in which they're still doing what they did in the previous 2. They just did the best version of what they just did. They finally got a director that actually is trying to direct the movie, has a little bit of style. It feels more cinematic. There's just enough humor in it. And obviously 6 is very self-aware. And so they did a better version, but they were also like doing what they just did in the previous ones. And so it doesn't stand out when you're talking about Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street, where right out of the gate, they did something great. And they're from John Carpenter, Wes Craven, or then you get the first Scream movie where it's just like this fresh new thing from a classic director and a fresh new screenwriter. And once again, like Friday the 13th, the first one, this is not like a legendary director or screenwriter combo here. They can't even decide who owns the rights. We can't get a new movie because it's just a mess.
Exactly. So we'll get a TV show, and somehow they have all the rights to that.
From A24, like what is it? What is this even going to be? I don't understand what this is.
Oh, I'm not an A24 fan.
Neither am I.
But wow. Finally, most people are like, yeah, they're the best. I can't. I tried. I watched, I don't know, not as many as other people have seen, but 5 or 6 or 7. I just can't get in. It's not my style. I just don't mesh with it.
Yeah, people ask me, you should do an A24 rankings. Like, you won't like it because you're super pumped about these movies, and you like my other rankings because I'm super pumped about something you're pumped about. I'm not pumped about A24 movies, so I'd be like struggling to find the thing I'm excited about. And I respect them as someone that wants more original stories and taking weird chances and stuff. They're doing that. They're doing what I want Hollywood to do. So I'm on their side for them to succeed. Their specific wavelength, their vibe, that energy, it's just not what I want for my horror films.
Okay. I'm with you. So, were you like a fan of X or Pearl?
I liked I liked Pearl more than X. Some of it was just even the subject matter of like they're off to make a porno, and it was just for me it was a little bit uncomfortable with even some of the stuff that they do with the characters. Like I just don't like these characters. This was weird.
Uh-huh.
And then Pearl, I was like, this is like Wizard of Oz, this is a slasher. I found that one to be more because it was weird in a way that I found interesting. And but I thought those ones were they're specific more in a sense, I like them more than other A24 films, and the things that I didn't like about them was more just particular to me than necessarily like when I talk about A24 in general, I wouldn't attribute my usual A24 like it's not my thing to X. X is it's the specific subject matter that wasn't necessarily for me.
I agree. So if you had to pick one, what would be your favorite horror movie of all time?
I go with Scream.
Okay.
So that's the going back to the same reason about the franchise that it was that's my formative years, and it's a movie that here we are all these years later. I think it holds up. Like my sister who's probably a lot more conservative than I am, but still shows her kids some horror movies. I guess it showed them the Scream movies, and her kids love the Scream movies, and so they're like trying to do find a time when they could watch the Scream movies with my kids, which is really funny coming from my sister who homeschooled her kids. But like they hold up, and my sister that doesn't like horror movies, doesn't really into gore, it's like, yeah, these are the good ones. That's a sign that you've done something that has very broad appeal. That is, it's not just appealing to horror junkies or a niche audience. Stood the test of time. That has characters you care about, a fun mythology with the whodunit aspect, and then being kind of funny, like having a meta comedy commentary that's meant to add humor and self-awareness.
Exactly. It's actually cool. Like you said, you're not out here to find the artsy fartsy kind of answer. You're giving it straight. Scream. I mean, other people might come out here and, of course, The Shining, which is a good movie. Not that it's a bad movie, but you know what I mean. They'll say something like that. But I like that you said Scream, more of a fun, upbeat kind of a horror movie that, like you said, can appeal to a greater audience than The Shining can, for instance.
See, this is why I like to think of myself as not like most other Rotten Tomatoes critics. I think that or people that get pick on Rotten Tomatoes critics because there are the ones that feel out of place, but or feel so out of touch with normal people. But they're actually pulling from YouTube and blogs. There's a lot more non-crazy people on there than they realize, but the scores don't always reflect that. People don't understand the scores. But yeah, like I try to help bring that to it of like, what's a fun horror movie where you get to watch people die and laugh a little bit? Well, Scream, of course.
It's a good choice. I'm a Halloween guy, but the more and more that I watch Scream 96, it creeps right up there next to it at number one for me. There's something about Halloween is good and it's rewatchable, but Scream is just a little bit more rewatchable than Halloween. I would say Halloween doesn't have. I guess it tries a little bit, but it doesn't have the fun and the upbeatness and the quirkiness that Scream has. So Scream is getting up there.
And I think that's the thing about Scream is obviously building off of Halloween's legacy. Halloween invents the genre. 20 years later, Scream is commenting on it. So it delivers everything that Halloween delivers, but it also delivers commentary a little bit faster, pacing. It brings in, if you like 90s music, you get a bunch of fun 90s music in there. And so it has more layers of entertainment value, which doesn't make it better, but it does make it more immediately consumable. It's like it's very rewatchable for that reason. And then when you have the whodunit, there's also that side to it that as soon as you watch it once, you want to watch it a second time to figure out, like, does that actually line up right? Does that make sense? When I think we're talking about franchises, Scream, because it's a whodunit, and the Ghostface is the killer, but Ghostface is always a different killer. I think it makes for a better franchise. That with Halloween Well, we
You know
have
who it
over
is.
10 of them. You know who it is, and it's not designed to be this ongoing franchise. But the
No,
Akkads want to make their money, so they keep
they
doing
do.
it. And every time they do, every single timeline in Halloween, at some point in time, it just goes off the rails. Like they don't know what to do next. It's all of a sudden there's a cult, there's a reality TV show. They just always at some point in time there's something that they're trying too hard to keep it going because it's
And
not set up particularly. It's not designed to go on forever because it's one guy and like one girl and her family, depending on which track you go down.
they live forever.
Mm-hmm. And so there's only so much you can do with that. With where Scream, there's any sorts of ways that you can expand it. I think even that's when they said that Nev Campbell wasn't coming back. I was like, I think that's actually a positive. That it doesn't make a lot of sense that she would keep showing up, but this idea of the whole franchise has always been about copycats, so that can just go off in any direction. It doesn't need to be about Nev Campbell and Courtney Cox.
Nope, which is never mind. When that came out, it seems like Scream 6 came out so long ago, but I think it just came out in March, right?
Yeah, it came out like 5-6 months ago.
Like it seems like it came out a year ago or so, but I mean, I guess spoiler alert. Obviously, Gail they should have just killed her off instead of bringing her back. Oh, she's alive. Oh, of course she is. Why wouldn't she be? And that's one of the things they should have maybe just let her go. It's fine. We don't really need her.
I don't necessarily want her to be killed off, but it doesn't make sense to do what they did and not like kill her off. Like, just don't have her in the movie. I like the idea that each movie they kill off one of the original cast members till they're all dead. That's pretty distasteful to me. So in that sense, I'm kind of glad that they didn't just like, we killed off Dewey, now we'll kill off Gale, and now we're gonna like I don't want them to do that. And that's kind of what Star Wars was doing with their characters. Like, don't do that.
One at a time.
Yeah, don't do that. But at the same time, if you set up her to die, just don't kill her. If you're gonna kill her, if you're gonna do it, or don't set it up. Like, don't have all these. Like, they're almost dead. Surprise! They're gonna be okay.
They had bulletproof vests on. They didn't tell us that part. Yeah. Sydney gave him a heads up. So
surprise
for everybody that wait, you got stabbed? Yep, got it. But I'm right here. I'm all good. Yeah. They sewed me up.
Yeah,
she ran out of the hospital.
Put all that stuff back in. Human body heals itself right
in there. Yeah. Eventually, yeah. Michael does it all the time.
Exactly.
Ninth says same, not into horror, but Scream 1 is a 9 out of 10. See? Just like you said, Scream transcends to pretty much anyone. It's just a fun movie with a slasher aspect.
Yeah, like when my wife doesn't do horror at all, but I can put on the Scream movies when I'm watching. She'll watch through the Scream movies with me and have an opinion, and like that like oh, there's a Scream movie, let's go see it. Like, she'll do that, but like, hey, there's a new Halloween movie. There's no way I'm taking her to the theater to see a Halloween movie.
So she's not going to go see Saw X then.
I've gotten her to see 0 Saw movies, and in the history of my channel, I've watched through all of them 4 times since. I'd never seen any of the Saw movies prior to my channel. It's odd. Like, I'm into horror, and I can actually be really into gore in movies, but in real life, like, I've passed out from someone telling me a story with blood in it. They literally, I heard a story and I passed out. So, like, in real life, blood and wounds can really weird me out. So and certain specific types of gore upset me. So I just hadn't watched the Saw movies up until I had my channel. And when Jigsaw came out, I was like, all right, I guess I'll watch all of them and I'll do a ranking. So I watched all through for that. And then leading up to the release of Spiral, I watched through all the movies. Then it got delayed a year. So then when it came out, I watched it a second time in preparation for just that one movie coming out. And then I've already rewatched all of them in prep for Saw X. I'm ahead. I find that Saw is what I was just talking about. Saw is a perfect example of a franchise where I don't think any one movie is great, but the franchise itself is more compelling than any individual film. where every time if I start watching it, I'm gonna binge all of them in like 3 days. Like I'm not gonna stop watching till I'm gonna watch 3 movies in a day, like, staying up till 3 in the morning watching it.
So,
But any individual film, I'll be like, this makes no sense. And why did this happen? Now this doesn't tie in with this. Why is it got all these notes tearing it apart? But I
yep.
can't stop watching it. It's weird.
I remember when Saw came out back in 04. I went to the theater on like Halloween whenever they used to come out every year. I was so excited for them. So the first one for me is my favorite, and I consider it the best, but that's probably because I have the nostalgia from seeing it back then. But I was trying to watch Saw 2 yesterday, and I can't get into them like I used to. I just don't really find it's fine, but I don't know, it's not enjoyable for me. But I mean, I own them all and I watch them all, and I'll go see Saw X when it comes out, even though Saw X looks just like any other Saw movie that's ever came out. But
the one difference, Jigsaw, the star of the franchise, looks like he's actually the star of one of the movies. He's always like the first one, he's kind of barely in it. And then he's in police custody in the second one. He's on his deathbed in the third one. And then he's only in flashbacks. So he's never the character that's like able to like drive the action forward with what's happening other than in flashbacks. So finally, 20 years into this franchise,
finally
7 movies after he died, and now that the actor is 80 years old,
he's the star.
Now he gets to actually star in one of the movies. That's the reason I'm like, I'm weirdly fascinated by we're doing a movie set between Saw 1 and 2. This is a terrible idea, but somehow also a great idea. I don't know. This feels like this movie should have been made 20 years ago. Why you didn't, I don't know, but I'm game for it.
That's a good point. I was watching Cody's. He ranked the iconic horror movie characters, and he got to Jigsaw, and he put him in just kind of memorable because of what you said. He's there, but he's not really there that much.
It's so weird.
Just think he's the icon of that franchise, and he's not even in it. Barely at all.
And then Hoffman, that it's easy to forget his name. Like, that's right. There are like 5 movies with this guy that you hate. He's not interesting. He's not compelling. But it's 5 movies straight of him avoiding the police and not getting caught. Or even when he's caught in a trap, locked in a room, somehow he can escape. And then he shows up at the police station, can somehow kill 10 cops. Like, what is this? And for the least interesting character in the franchise, he's the guy that you dedicate so much time to?
I honestly don't remember anything about those except for he was really boring and not interesting at all. And did he eventually die? Because I honestly don't remember. I think he did, right?
Why don't you want me to spoil the end of Saw 3D?
I've seen it. I just don't remember it at all.
It's not clear exactly what happened, but a character from the first film makes a return and gives him justice for what he's been up to as someone that is is not following the code and is causing trouble. He does something to someone that he's not supposed to do something to. And therefore,
Jigsaw's.
I'm not going to say specifics, but yes,
who I think it is.
Yes, and so he messes with her, and therefore a character returns, and it's not clear exactly what happened, but he's probably not okay.
He's been so
but then again, he escaped all the other movies, so
he has healing powers you don't know about. So good for him. Maybe he's like Michael too. Maybe he'll come back in this movie. He could be in this one.
Find out. Saw 11 comes back, and it turns out that he's still alive and continues the games in modern times.
Saw 11. So obviously they just jumped straight to Saw X because Jigsaw's or not Spiral ain't having a sequel. They just skipped over that and just went to Saw X. Nice.
Didn't mind Spiral. I didn't mind Spiral. That's where like these last 3, it's like they keep trying to do some way to continue it, but they can't figure like, all right, let's do a prequel thing. all right, let's do this, or prequel and sequel. All right, let's do this spin-off with Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. All right,
That's
let's
done.
do a prequel. It's like
Well,
and they can make them so cheap that no matter what, they're making money with them. But
yep.
and it's they can do all these risks, but they're trying to find the one. Can we make one that makes us 10 times our budget, not just 5 times our budget?
They're that's the thing. They won't stop until they don't make any money. So as long as people go see them, no matter how bad they are, they're gonna keep making other ones. So it doesn't really matter. Like people didn't like Halloween Ends, but guess what? In a couple years, they'll probably be back with more Halloween movies because they make a lot of money. So
that's where people are like, oh, well, this one only opened with this, and it opened with so much less than what Halloween 2018 made. And yeah, but they made the movie for like $20 million. And so they're printing money with what they're doing. They are very profitable.
I was gonna say that I think the trilogy made like $500 million. I think they're gonna be okay.
Right.
They're gonna be all right.
You spend less than $100 million, you make $500 million.
You're good.
You're just printing money. So they're gonna wait. Probably not very long. No. But we'll get our 50th anniversary movie, whatever it is, if it's another total remake or doing a 7th timeline. Jamie Lee Curtis is back again, and this one is a direct sequel to Halloween 2, but we're doing the same thing as Halloween 2018, but except including Halloween 2 in the timeline and ignoring Halloween 2018 in that trilogy. That's our 50th anniversary.
Damn.
This is great. This time we're going to do something different with old Laurie. This time she's an alcoholic and she's cranky, just like the last 2 times they did it. But we're going to say it's like it's new and different. This time she's dysfunctional and alcoholic. That's the same thing.
It does, and people will go see it just like me in the front row.
I'll be there opening night. Well,
hell yeah. I don't miss a Halloween movie ever. What did you think of Halloween Ends? Were you a fan? Were you on the opposite side? Did you hate it?
I was not a fan, like at all. Ugh. So I watched it. I hadn't seen Christine before I watched it.
Oh.
So then after I watched it, everyone's like, you got to watch Christine to understand this movie. So I watched Christine and went, oh, now I understand the movie better. But I haven't rewatched Halloween Ends since. My thought, I think where they screwed up is that I think they should have put the end of Ends at the end of Halloween Kills. Because it almost feels like it, because it's mob justice. That's like where the movie ends, is this mob justice. And you have a scenario where mob justice in Halloween Kills, they're killing innocent people, but also they stop the monster too. And so part of the problems with Kills is that Michael, in order to be able to get another movie, we have to make him indestructible.
Yeah, they did.
And so it just get like, okay, there's no point, there's no rules, there's nothing. So let's actually, he goes on a killing rampage. He's a wounded animal. He's going nuts, killing people, but also by the end of it, he's gone. Then they say, hey, but what we're going to do is we're going to kind of do what they did back in the 80s, and we're going to do some anthology films that are, let's kind of can tell more stories in this world that are from this franchise, but we're going to play around with it. We're going to tell you in advance. We're not going to surprise you. And you do that exact same story that they did in Halloween Ends, or you do most of the story that's in Halloween Ends about this guy that's a copycat, that is someone that wasn't a killer, that's perceived as a killer, and then turns into a killer. And you do that same story, and it's Christine, except in the world of Halloween. I think I would respond so much better to that film as an anthology film that's not trying to actually be the marketing for the movie is like final showdown we've been waiting 40 years for. Well, not 40 years. We got it in 2018. We got it in H2O. We've had this final showdown a few times before in the kitchen as well. So you're marketing it on something that we've seen before. Anyway, but then the movie itself, it's this whole other thing. And so you go into the movie expecting classic Halloween, the final one, and it's all about this whole other thing. And so I'm like, what is going on? And like, what? I didn't think the character was bad. I didn't think the actor did poorly in it. I just thought in order to even tell that story, there's like this Corey is a grown man bullied by band kids. Literally,
They were cool.
coolest band kids I've ever seen. And they're bullying this grown man. And later in the movie, there's a scene in the movie where he pushes over Michael Myers and steals his mask. And I'm like, this is sacrilegious. What are you doing? The guy bullied by band kids stole Michael Myers' mask? What are you thinking? What are you doing here? And then you get in. Then that's not even the finale of the movie, isn't him? It's like that plot line's resolved, and it's like, oh crap, that's right. This is supposed to close out the 40 thing. So yeah, Michael shows up, and it's like, what? This feels like this is the end that should have been on Kills, and then you had this whole other different thing that's Christine inspired that you wanted to do as a standalone little story. So I thought it was so weird the way they chose to do it, and I think there could have been a version that I would have responded much better to. And I think would have been better received. You probably wouldn't make as much money if you did it as an like, Halloween Chronicles stories in the world of Halloween. Like it probably wouldn't make as much. I don't know if you'd have Jamie Lee Curtis in there, but people would. When you go into a movie and you can properly categorize it, and it doesn't feel like it has two goals.
Yeah.
Like you want to tell a story about Corey, but you also have to have a showdown with Laurie and Michael. Those are two competing goals. And so it's just like this awkward blend for me. What about you? Did you like it?
I was the person that, the people that I associate with in my circle through here, they assumed that I would have hated every minute of it. I absolutely loved it. I think I've probably watched it. I don't even want to say like 10 times since it came out. That's how much I really, really enjoy it. I do agree that, tacking on Michael at the end for, 10 minutes in the kitchen would have made more sense somewhere else, or introduce Corey, in the previous movie. But
yeah, when I think that's some of the frustration where they're like, oh, this was the plan all along. We were always looking to do this. Like, no, this feels like you changed your plan. If you were planning this all along, yeah, like incorporate Corey earlier on. And it feels like some of this is set up. For me, I just felt like you like a bait and switch. Like what just happened? Why? Like this feels like you made a movie you really liked in 2018 and you realized you were going to print money with it. And then they went, all right, let's do 3 of them. And you didn't have 3 stories that felt as a cohesive trilogy. So.
Yeah, even like, they show that scene of Allison in 2018. She's in school with her boyfriend and Oscar. Maybe just have Corey walk by and then like her boyfriend like shoves him out of the way and is like, get out of here, Corey, or something like that. And then just put that in the back of the mind. And then maybe in Kills somehow show him again. Maybe he was out trick-or-treating for some reason or something. And then, that's Corey Cunningham. He was in the first one and this one. It would have maybe been a little bit more well-received. Probably not, based on the Christine route they took, which I've seen Christine before that, so I knew what was kind of coming in the movie. And I'm a huge fan of Christine. So ends really didn't bother me. I really have a good time with it. I get a lot of hate because I have it in the top 5 in the franchise. So, but we can't all have the same movies in every single place. So,
that's where Halloween rankings are like a lot of these passionate fan bases that are multi-generational, and that there's the ones that you grew up on or the one that you saw in the theater for whatever reason. So you look at Halloween rankings and they're all over the place. And, in particular, the Rob Zombie films, like if that's your thing, then you have them way up there and everyone else is like, whoa, that was abrasive. that was a lot. And so you have them at the bottom in particular, the second one that it's like, you're going to love this. Or you're going to hate this. This is not a movie where like, I'm very medium on Halloween. Yeah. There's not a lot of people that have it in the middle. It's like, oh man, Rob Zombie, like he's such an auteur. He has such a creative vision. Or you're like, whoa, what was that?
You're right. People either have it top 2, top 3, or bottom 2 or bottom 3. There's no, but most people don't put it 6, 5, whatever. I am one of those that has it at the bottom. I never come around to it. I try, I give it multiple shots, just not for me.
Yeah. Well, and then the one that was kind of surprising to me how divisive it was H2O.
I know
that that was one to me that maybe it's just because I'm that era. And I somehow I didn't see H2O until much later, despite the era it came out, despite being into Halloween. Like I watched Halloween, John Carpenter, because I got into John Carpenter films a long time ago, but I didn't watch through all the movies until I had my whole YouTube channel. And I was like, I'm going to watch all of these. And so I was late to it, and I was like, oh, cool. It's like Halloween, but it's also modernized that era of movies that I loved. And it has a big showdown that like has payoff to it. It knows exactly what it's built with, the one thing it's building towards, and it does that. And then the cast is much better than it should be.
It is.
Where you have like Josh Hartnett, who,
awesome.
Here we are 25 years later, and he's in a Christopher Nolan film that, might win Best Picture. And he's one of like standout performances in a movie with only standout performances. Like he's that guy. He was discovered for this movie. And so it's like, come to think, a lot of the Halloween movies, a lot of these movies have surprisingly good casts where you discover these people. But, another one that just has like, wow, look at all of these faces that went on to do, they're still
bigger
active
thing
today.
Yep.
Plus Jamie Lee Curtis. But then there's a ton of people
hate it.
Yeah, they hate it. Like, oh, this isn't a Halloween movie. This is a Scream knockoff. Like, why would you lower this franchise to this? Like, why didn't they continue the Cult of Jason, the Cult of Thorn or stuff from the last movie? How dare you? Why isn't Danielle in this?
You can't win, and she's still coming back. I hear it every day. I see it on Instagram all the time. She's coming back. She's coming back. Maybe she will.
Maybe that's what we'll do for our 40th anniversary film. 40th anniversary, or excuse me, 50th anniversary, but 40th anniversary of the release of her movies from the late 80s.
She's back.
We're continuing those movies. She's coming back. We're going to do a direct sequel to Halloween 5, ignoring Halloween 6.
No. He pulls out that old mask from Halloween 5, and it looks even worse than it did then. It's going to be great. It's going to be good stuff. People will go see it, though, and you and me included will be there to watch it, but I probably don't want to be.
For Halloween Kills, I decided to do, like, the deepest rabbit hole. I go down the whole path with the Halloween movies, and so I got the Taking Shape books. Have you read those? Or
Yep.
I got both of them, the one on the movies that were made, and then Taking Shape 2 on all the movies that weren't made. There's so many unmade Halloween movies. And then I watched every special feature on every Blu-ray, and then went on YouTube and looked up every, like, man, it is a wild ride of these movies getting made, and the insanity of some of it. And some of it was fascinating because they kept changing who the screenwriter was and everything. And this is before home releases were easily accessible. And so then there were times where they had a person that was writing the next movie and they'd only seen the previous film one time. And you're like, what? That sounds so crazy and foreign now, but you're like, oh yeah, I guess in the mid 80s, they didn't have a home video release. And so if it, yet, and you'd have to wait 6 months, but they have to write the script immediately. And it was just fascinating little details about the history of how it was made that was just sounds so bonkers and crazy.
I remember one of those movies that wasn't made that stands out is the one where they keep shooting Michael and he keeps getting taller and taller and taller. I don't know what
right. Yeah.
I don't know how that would be well received. Probably not at all, but it would be hilarious to watch. I'm not going to lie.
That was like you're reading some of these things like,
why?
What? Like, how is this a version of Halloween that almost happened?
Michael's now 12 foot tall and he's stomping on cars. It's gonna be good stuff.
Yeah, when you go like, oh man, some of these weren't very good. Man, Halloween 6, that like this Cult of Thorn and stuff. Like, I don't think that was the right direction to go. Oh, they had worse ideas like that.
They did.
This sounds totally normal and reasonable in light of everything else.
that's the good thing though. There's so many movies to choose from that if you don't like one, just
Mhm.
go watch another. I'm sure there's another one you'll find.
Well, in whatever version of Halloween that you like, there's a timeline for you. But I feel
Yeah.
like that's I feel like each of these timelines, at some point in time, they always went strange. They always like, and whether you like the version of strange they went with, but like you go down the Thorn one, it's like all of a sudden there's druids and
Yeah,
tattoos,
there are.
and Michael Myers might have impregnated his niece, depending on which cut of the movie. Like,
He's a
what?
dad.
And no one will claim this. Like, no one will admit that they're the person that came up with that idea. Everyone's like, no, he did it. He didn't. I didn't come up with that. And then they're like, all right, that got weird. Let's reset it. And they close it out H2O, but a COD won't let them close it out. So they're like, no, they killed a random person. So we're on a reality TV show.
Of course.
In the Michael Myers house. And he's beaten up by Busta Rhymes. And he's defeated ultimately by having his balls electrocuted. These are great ideas. And then we do Rob Zombie. And it's like trippy, weird. He's wandering the country with his mask off
In his bag.
Nice. And just this he's seeing visions of his mother and unicorns. Like, what is happening? And then you get to this latest one, and like it's the last movie. It's Christine. And now we're doing Christine, except as a Halloween movie.
So really, Michael, throughout the whole course of the franchise, just gets to do other movie stuff. He gets to be involved in Christine. He gets to be like Jason with his mom, and it makes. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, he gets his own weird druid cult. Like, yeah,
he gets to do it all in
reality TV show. That's everything.
Who got the idea to have him with his niece, who pushing him in like in Midsommar? Like, whose idea was that one? That's what we need to know. And if it didn't go down like that, all the crowd was cheering and pushing. A24, get in here now.
These ideas are great. They need to hire us to coach A24 on this 40th anniversary version of, or 50th, excuse me, 50th. We're going to be at 50 in a few years. So 50th anniversary version of Halloween, A24's Halloween.
It's going to be amazing.
No.
We'll send him a letter. I'll send the video. We'll send it to them. See if they accept some of these offers. Maybe get us some money. Probably not. But directors do whatever they want. So they might find these topics very interesting in money making. So it's a possibility. We'll get it sent over. Before I get you out of here, I saw one of your videos popped up recently. It might have been, I don't even know when it was from, but I watched it a couple times. It was your top 4 Halloween movies. Okay. And for once, I agreed totally with the person giving the answers. It's nice to agree. You had Halloween 4, you had Halloween H2O, I believe, at 3rd, 2018 at 2, and obviously Halloween at number 1.
Yeah.
I'm just glad to see some love for 2018 because I know a lot of people did not like it for some reason. I don't know what the problem was with it. It was a Halloween movie that was pretty damn good, and it brought back Michael how you wanted him to be brought back, and then it still wasn't good enough. So I'm glad that you like it.
Yeah, if you don't like the new Loomis and like this is a goofy like this, that didn't work. I agree, that didn't work. Otherwise, I mean, I think it's just a certain amount of if you're just someone that you have your version of the continuity that you love, and you really want Danielle to show up or whatever it is. And they come along, and in particular, they say, we're not even keeping Halloween 2. I think that it just stepped on a lot of people's toes. And I to an extent, okay, like if this is like your passionate franchise that you're locked, I can see where maybe that would be a thing that would, it's tough for me to see that with a franchise like this, that they always like reshuffled this thing. Like the 3rd movie, all right, it's about Irish Stonehenge microchips, and then it's like just kidding, we're going back, and now that it's about her daughter, all right, now it's about a cult, and it's about her adopted cousin. What I don't remember. Like, and Paul Rudd it's about. Just kidding. We're gonna actually do a sequel. Like, this franchise has so many just kiddings that it feels like this of all the franchises you just take whatever Halloween you want. There's one like it out there.
Go with
there's
it.
two. Yeah. There's two of them like there, and then there's probably a bunch of them you think are wacky. And I thought Halloween Ends was wacky. You thought it was great. There's probably some other one that I think is really cool, and you think is wacky. Like, cool. We got different tastes in our Halloween.
Yeah.
Cool. But if you feel like peed on the grave of your favorite movie or whatever, Halloween 2, I guess I get it. Otherwise, like, it's brutal, it's vicious. There's a couple of oopsie things in here. Otherwise, yeah, I just don't know why you wouldn't like it. The
score's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want?
It's just
the soundtrack and all of them is good. But what do you expect when John Carpenter's back, knocking it out of the park with amazing soundtracks, just like the original? Good stuff. I think I read somebody say, I think the main problem for 2018 was the way Laurie was presented with the, Sarah Connor version of her. I didn't mind it. That. I mean, I do like H2O's version a little bit better, I think, but I didn't mind it.
Yeah,
they all run together at some point.
But yeah, I don't know. I think both of them. I really like both. Since both those movies are my top 4, you know where I stand.
You like them both?
Yeah, I like them both. They both worked for me for what they were, and I thought, they both worked for me for what they were.
It's good to hear. Good to hear. But
that's
a little over an hour.
So 4 for me was the one that was took me a little while to come around on. So
really,
because I didn't watch the 3, 4, 5, 6, even H2O. Mm-hmm. I didn't watch those ones. I watched Halloween 1 and 2, the ones that Carpenter was associated with a great deal. But then it was more recent. And so then just kind of watch it without context. And so if you look at my first ranking of them, I think it was much lower. And then whenever I came back around and did kind of the deep dive, and it was like, oh yeah, this is like, okay, cool. I got it a lot more. And yeah, and like it felt like
it was the mask. You didn't like it, did I like the mask. I don't have a problem with it. It is a little goofy, but I don't mind it.
That was where some of those things was like, what, that looks kind of strange. But yeah, there was a few things like that just even I don't know, just in my brain I'd categorize them as like these are the other ones. And for whatever reason, I didn't know. It wasn't one that I had done a deep dive on at all. And so judged them unfairly in many ways.
That I never actually thought about it like that. Like for 1 and 2, first run. 4, 5, and 6. It's like those, like you said, those are the other ones. Kind of like the Friday the 13th franchise. 2, 3, 4. Those are the ones. And then 7, 8, 9. Those are the other ones that are in this franchise. I never actually thought about it like that. So that makes a lot of sense. Zach Cherry, what's up? You're big time. I never get big time like that. What's up, man? It's because Sean's here, but I'll take it anyway. Yeah, so
I don't know that I don't recall that I've actually interacted with Zach before. I've seen his videos; he's popped up in my feed all the time. So, but I don't know that we've actually directly interacted before.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think so. Then again, I interact with a lot. Sometimes I get confused. Forget who I've talked to. You interact with so many different people. It's like sometimes I forget who I've met in person. That's the funniest ones because you do video chats with people like Cody Leach. I've been doing videos and collabs with him for 6 years before I met him in person. And so you meet him in real life, and I was like just standing there blinking for a little bit, adjusting to the fact that we've never actually met before. Hey, man.
I've yet to meet anybody on here that I've done videos with or collabed with, but I'm looking forward to doing it eventually. And I think, like you said, you're just gonna wait. Yeah, hey man, what's up? Like we've talked online, but it's a little different when you're face to face with somebody like that. So that's cool. I know you and Cody go to all those conventions and stuff. So that's really cool stuff for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'll be out here.
like I said,
He'll be out here next month for Fantastic Fest. So that'll be a lot of
more
fun.
videos to come. Nice. Nice. Like I said, I appreciate you, being as busy as you are with YouTube being your main job and cracking out content left and right. I really do appreciate you taking some time to come and chat with little old me on this channel. It really does mean a lot to me. I was a little nervous coming on here. Obviously, I'm always nervous meeting somebody for the first time on here, but once again, another smooth interaction, good conversation. Had a really good time. Chat, thank you for hanging out with us and keeping the chat moving. A lot of different people in here that aren't in here. So if you're new, please subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. And most of you are probably already subscribed to him. But if you aren't, links down below. Go check out Sean. He got a lot of cool content, Marvel stuff over there, superhero stuff, which I do like superheroes, but I don't really do it on the channel. But
over 30 horror rankings too, since we got more horror over here. So over 30 horror franchises ranked.
And I think I probably watched them all because I do love rankings. And yours usually don't disappoint, not like others when I get to Halloween rankings and they put Halloween 2018 at like number 10 and I'm like, oh, we're done. On to the next one. But I shouldn't do that, but it cuts a little deep on that one. But I really appreciate you coming on, like I said. Hope you have a good night and enjoy the rest of your week. Keep grinding like you're doing because your channel is amazing, my friend.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
No problem. All right, everybody. And I will see you guys back on Thursday night doing a watch along to Friday the 13th, part 5, which I'm not looking forward to, but I'm going to do it anyway. So we'll be here. Have a good night, everybody.